From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud peered April, dressed in all his trim, hath put a spirit of youth in everything. That heavy Sutton laughed and lived with him. It's hard to imagine what the spring in Shakespeare's England looked like back in his day. In my part of the world, spring does indeed put a spirit of youth in everything. The foggy mountains around me are like a giant blanket covering millions of lives who are desperate for a breath of warmth and tenderness. Well, warmth and tenderness are what this season is most generous with. After a week's gentle rain, the birds are tweeting, the grass is stretching, and flowers blossoming in the depth of the forest are undulating at the gentle touch of the mountain wind. However, being a farmer, spring in the vineyard isn't all about flowers and birds. There is always labor. These coming 2 months are the fastest growing period for the vines. Activities in the vineyard are vigorous. Firstly, there is debudding.
Wow, 我真是养园子，我一生得好嘞，我就不懂嘞。
越累得好就越做的越好，越下不得的越效果不好。
那哈，我就要提前去写对了，有写才有对。
Debudding, or l'épombrage by the French, is the removal of redundant shoots from a grapevine. To define what is redundant is subject to farmers of different regions. L'épombrage overdone, you will have a weak plant with too few leaves to take part in photosynthesis, which is the process to produce energy from light and carbon dioxide. Whereas l'épombrage insufficiently done, you will have the foliage of a plant so robust, like the fluffy hair of American rappers, that wind and light can hardly go through, resulting in suffocation and fungal diseases. Neither is desirable.
我是向来的，我就要全是选的，满土的搞出去。还没路吃。要是个来挂工，我的也没挂。今天这个挂上。
I tend to overdo the work every year, as my variety of vine is susceptible only to one kind of fungus called the downy mildew, a disease first found and exported to the globe by the Northern Americans. If you let President Trump have his way, he might have named it the American fungus. Preventing my Chinese vines from the harm of American fungus, I have to make sure that all parts of the foliage are well lit and ventilated. L'épombrage is simple. I only need to brush off the buds that are either too weak or too close to each other, like this and this. Sometimes you are urged to cut off one of the very sorry-looking branches altogether. That is what we call pruning. Pruning is typically done during winter times. Doing it in the spring, you will cause the poor plant to tier sup. Watch. Tearing. The taste of paradise in spring. Although I made myself perfectly clear and repetitively articulate that visitors without reservation are not welcome around our property, tourism seems to be booming on this mountain where there is absolutely no touristic attractions at all except for our little vineyard together with its ancient country house. People from the nearest town and from neighboring cities insist on driving furiously up the mountain, crushing into concrete poles of the vineyard, making picnic under the grapevines and leaving plastic bottles behind. Sometimes people might even go so far as to wandering into my house yard, around the gate through this way, just so that they could get a glimpse of the house through its windows. On many occasions, they might see me looking back at them, eye to eye, from inside the house. Dashed awkward. This is a pole run over by some rascal who wouldn't even leave a name. That constant maintenance has become part of our work. That must be the price to pay for living a life on an entire mountain. This time we have come up with an idea to protect the corner pole. Security hasn't been a problem all the years. Crime is nearly unheard of in rural China, let alone on top of a mountain where dogs bite like serpents. When we had Tidar, the Xinjiang mountain dog, living around here with us last year, we never had tourist problems, day or night. Now that Tidar is on a sabbatical leave to the north, we thought it'd be wise to add in some modern technology. A thermal detector triggered siren on the only path will do everyone good, dogs, proprietors, intruders alike. Another part of the work in the vineyard is planting baby vines, often to replace old vines or to fill the vacancy between vines, or simply to plant a new plot. In my case, I have gathered some cuttings from a neighboring village to develop a new plot. These varietal, though a close relative of my own, is about 2 weeks slower to wake up and to develop buds. They might look promising now, as if more than half of them are going to survive. Well, the truth is, more than 80% of all the cuttings will perish within the next 3 months. The phantom of liveliness is a delusion powered by the energy stored in the cordon before winter. The bud will survive and grow only if roots start forming underneath the ground. And my job is to make sure as many as possible cordon cuttings will develop roots before summer comes. Sometimes some lives are so old that even the spring fails to put youth into, such as this old plum tree. This tree was planted by my father and has been in my memory all my life. I have plucked plums off the tree as a toddler, and in the last years, life has been slipping away from it. It now finally came the day when the man who gave it life had to take it away from it. But not yet so sad. From the ashes of the dead, a new baby is born. Such is the circle of life, and the spring does indeed put youth into everything.